Hello and welcome back to another engaging, inspiring, and including episode of the Achieving Unity Leadership System podcast. It's a weekly podcast where we help turn chaos into connection and purpose into action. I am your host, Mark Entrick, and founder of the Achieving Unity Leadership System, which is available at www.achievingunity.com, which is dedicated to all leaders, personally and professionally. And you're a leader in your relationships. You are a leader in your family, even with as a couple. You're co-leaders. So this is for all leaders in improving their lives through encouraging, inspiring, and including others. Called the EII, encouraging, inspiring, and including others. Because we must remember, unity is not a soft skill. It is a leadership discipline. I am honored today to introduce Steve Nason, who is a founder of Awakening Team Empowerment LLC and has spent more than 4 decades working across some very, very different industries. He brings a rare gift, a background of corporate leadership, and, believe it or not, 6 years as a preschool teacher. That's quite an education right there. That combination, though, gives him an incredible understanding of people, people of all levels, how we communicate, and why we sometimes get in our own way. Yes, sometimes we get in our own way. Steve's going to talk about that. So as we listen, we're invited to see not just the challenges that we could face, but the potential that exists when people are encouraged, inspired, and including in building a better future together, achieving unity. But first, before we delve into this insightful discussion, let me briefly introduce my company, Reality Focused Dynamics, where it all began. This is where I started off in the process. So as you can see on the first screen, Achieving Unity Leadership System podcast shows again where we talk about real conversations for leaders that are navigating division, frustration, and change. Next slide, please. Because sometimes today, it seems that leadership feels much harder than it should. Why is leadership hard? Well, because too many times, disconnection, things are breaking apart. That disconnection is growing. Frustration is draining the people. You and I. It's draining our teams and what we can do. Just those basic things, just that frustration alone is knocking us down in too many areas because our good intentions are colliding with sometimes the real world pressures. That's what we want to stop. That's what we want to change and work on achieving unity so that we all can work together, be together, work better in what we're doing. Because again, unity, please remember this, unity is not a soft skill. It is a strategy, a leadership strategy that helps us get beyond those real world pressures. Next slide, please. Thank you. What we mean by achieving unity sounds like big words, but achieving unity is encouraging process without enabling dysfunction. How many times do we just say, yeah, sure, shake our head, but we're not grasping onto it? We don't see what we need to do, what we must do. Sometimes it seems that there's inspiring action, but sometimes agreement seems forced. We don't want that. We want to inspire action without forcing agreements. We want people to be able to speak up, that communication, that unity, that strategy. Sometimes we have a separation that we don't want. Instead, we will be including voices while maintaining that accountability. We want to be accountable. We want to be responsible, but we also want to include all the voices that are there. not just one, not just two, but all of them. Oops, sorry, excuse me a second. Because we want to be building better businesses, better lives, and a better world, one conversation at a time. That's what we want to do, and that's what we want to build. I'm your host, again, Mark Intrican, the founder of Reality Focused Dynamics and the Achieving Unity Leadership System. I work with leaders, teams, and families navigating conflict, change, and complexity, helping us all move forward with clarity, unity, and sustainable action. We want to be focused, FOCUSED, which stands for facilitating on clear, unified, sustainable execution and delivery. And if you look at that, that is FOCUSED, focused. Let's go to the next slide and let's break it down just a little bit more. Focused, facilitate, or facilitating. Sounds like a big word, but anytime you're a big word, but sometimes when we're facilitating, we're just leading. It may be a baseball team, it may be a family gathering, it could be anything. It could be a 100,000 member company. But when you're facilitating, you're handling those tough conversations that build trust because you want that trust on common ground and shared purpose. And that's what the O stands for. The own common ground and shared purpose. That's what we want to be. All of us working together, driving together on that same path. We want to have clear communication, clear agreements. That's where we're going. That's what we're doing. That's how we go and then how we grow, how we make that work. We want to be unified. We want to have action across our differences. And we're all different in some ways, but then we're all the same in so many others. We may look a little bit different cosmetically, but inside, in our hearts, our minds, and our soul, we are unified across all differences. We also want to be sustainable. We want results that last. We want to have execution. That's the E for consistent, responsible action. That's what execution is. Because without action, what do we have? Nothing. Sitting around not doing anything. We need that action, that execution to provide the delivery. And that deliveries are inspired growth and lasting change. And what does lasting change bring us? Improvement, continual improvement, day by day. We want you to contact us. If you have any questions on any of our coaching, consulting, our courses, keynote speeches, and workshops, let's promote clear, unified, sustainable action starting now. Reach out to explore each of those with us. But we want to make sure that we are achieving unity, that success strategy. Help us get forward and be focused on what we're doing, what we need to do. And you can reach me at 303 focused. If you look at your keypad dial, that's 303-362 8733. Now think about that. But it's focused on your dial. 303-362-8733, which spells focused. Because achieving unity is the path to stronger relationships, personally and professionally, for inspired leadership and lasting change. Because we want that continual process improvement. And don't forget, it's not just about communication. It's about connection and protection. And we need to protect each other. That's why I also work as a Legal Shield associate, helping people anytime that they need legal assistance, personally or professionally, with their business, with their home, any kind of questions and anything that we get across from the neighbor next door, tough situations in divorce or custody. You need help. You need to be able to ask those questions. Also, when you have your identity stolen or your credit card stolen, and did you know how many people have our information? Contact me. Let's talk further about that. Next slide, please. And also our upcoming conversations. This is every week. This is a weekly live podcast. What we need to do each and every week. Next week, we have Giovanni Macaroni. He's going to be talking about the personal leadership in alignment to get results. That's on April 1st. Then Maria Garantonandia. She's going to be in here talking about untangling communication for empowered leadership and team success, the areas that we need to focus on the most. Then we have Teresa Seguric. She's going to be talking about performance success formula, successfully pursue your passion. What do you want to do? Let's look at that passion. She'll be here on April 22nd. Let's make sure that we have this all together, working together, building week after week, starting right here on the Achieving Unity Leadership System podcast. But today, we're going to talk about Steve Nason. He's got a huge story for us today. Lots of stories, actually, with a big, strong concept on what we need to do to get along with our companies. And sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes we get in our own way. But that's his QR code there on the left. Please take a picture of the screen. Keep up with it. You see that he's on Facebook, Steve Nason. His email is at comprog10@gmail.com. Make sure I read that 10 right. Contact him.
Yes.
Thank you. Make sure you get a chance to contact him after the meeting today. Get in touch with him directly. We'll give you some more things in a few minutes also about his LinkedIn. So keep up with him, take a picture of the screen, get his QR code. We'll tell you more in a second. But let me tell you more about Steve, because we're excited to welcome him today. He is a workplace conflict strategist and founder of Awakening Team Empowerment LLC, who helps organizations transform conflict into collaboration and what we all need, high performance. Drawing on over 40 years of corporate experience across multiple industries, Steve provides practical strategies to reduce toxic dynamics. We love that dynamic. We love the dynamite, the explosion to go forward, but we don't want them to be toxic. Steve provides those practical strategies to get beyond that, to strengthen communication and improve team morale. His work empowers leaders and teams to turn that high conflict environment into collaboration, into a collaborative, productive culture that drives lasting success. Would you please help me welcome Steve Nason? Hi, Steve. How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Good, thanks. And I'm so glad you're here. This is awesome.
Yes, yes.
I appreciate your time and the ability that you're going to have to talk to us and share more with us. So if you don't mind, if you could take a few minutes, just introduce yourself. And it seems like you've had a very diverse and powerful journey across multiple industries. So as you're introducing yourself, you also tell us the moments along that path that helped shape your focus on transforming workplace conflict.
Well, yes, I work with workplace conflicts, high employee turnover, poor product quality because of the team dynamics. And my experience, the unique situation that happened early in my career was a conflict I had for 3.5 years. And this person would be my best friend one day and my enemy the next. And I laugh now, but I was not laughing then. And I'd go to my boss. My boss would fix the situation, but he wouldn't resolve it. It would come back time and time again. And finally, I had enough. I left, and I was left without a job. I was out of work for 6 months. And when I did finally go back to work, during that 6 month time, I was able to resolve what was going on with the help of a
Excellent.
few other people. And I was able to help people with their conflicts after that. I did have a few conflicts myself, but nothing that I couldn't get resolved.
That's excellent because I like the way you think about that. We do have conflicts, each and every one of us. Conflicts at home, conflicts at work, conflicts in the community, but they're all ones that if we take our time, we can resolve them. One of the things I talk about is listen to the dialogue, listen to the conversation, listen to what's going on, write down what we hear, break down what we wrote down, review the dependencies, and then get it done. Break these things down. So if you do have problems, you break it down into the minimum viable product, process, or task. So I like the way
Yeah.
you think about that. Have you found that your experience kind of serves both as a corporate leader and, as you mentioned earlier, as a preschool teacher?
Oh, yeah. Uh, Preschool kids are just little people. They have the same types of problems. Their problems seem pretty major to them, which would be problems that wouldn't be major to us, but they are major to them. And a lot of kids that I came into contact with were the first time that they were out of the home. So they had a hard time getting along with one another. And I remember one little boy, he just was very shy and couldn't really integrate with the other kids. And so I kind of took it on myself took a few days, played with him myself, and then I encouraged him to play with other kids and, one on one. And finally, he was able to communicate and get along with everyone else.
It's
So,
great.
yeah.
And I like the way you talk about that also, because sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not as good, but we many times live in our own world. And that
Mhm.
world, our world could be from culture, the way we were raised, from the time we were born till we're going to school, 1 year old to 6 years old. Then when we go to school, the people that we're around teach us about the world that we live in. And then we kind of develop sometimes our own little world. Get into the middle school, the high school, start off into college or university, get into our first job, and we can bring that with us. And sometimes, Steve, can't we also take back from when we're very young, like with the ones you were teaching, that
Mhm.
starts that thought process, and we carry that on through our lives with us, but yet we kind of stay in that little world?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And sometimes we have to think back of our successes back when we were kids as well. I remember when I first started looking for work after I got out of the army, and I didn't know what to do. So I read a book, What Color is Your Parachute? I don't know if you've heard of it,
I have.
but it said, think of back to all your successes. So I thought about a puppet show where I had to lead in first grade. And I went home after I found out I had to lead. And I said, how am I going to do this? But I studied, rehearsed, and did a great job. And so that gave me the confidence to think, yeah, I can do things. I can do things. I was always a quiet little kid, and actually, I was an accountant for most of my career, and it was kind of a job I could hide in because I wasn't a public accountant. I was a corporate accountant. Although I found out I couldn't always hide. We always had meetings and interactions with other people. But I got pretty good at doing my job.
I bet you did. And that's one of the things that I'm seeing also, Steve. Someone like you that's as intelligent as you are, that knows what you know. We do the same things day after day. Go to that same office, theoretical 9 to 5, work day after day. We go to our family, same things day after day. Sometimes we get, what would you call it? Don't want to say tired of it, but sometimes it's too redundant. And doesn't
Hmm.
that kind of build our little world, kind of construct that world that we're used to, our comfort levels? And then
Yeah,
going back to that boy you talked about in preschool that wasn't
yeah,
used to talking to other people. He wasn't something he did on a day-to-day basis. Wasn't in his
exactly.
comfort level. So you helped him reach out and start talking more to the people around him. Could that also have helped his possibly his family and his future?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure I haven't had any connection with him lately, but he was definitely on the right track for sure.
Well, it's
And I just,
instructors and teachers like you. Sorry to interrupt you, but just to touch on what you're saying, it's because of teachers like you, even in preschool, that can open small doors for each and every student. That you saw a struggle, a challenge this preschool student had, and you opened that door for him. You or her. You said, "Here's some things that you can do. Here's how to talk to others." And
mhm,
when they do that, when they get used to that at school, even again preschool, they take that home. Couldn't that also open up some doors there that, hey, our son, our daughter, they're going to school, they're learning things. Maybe that could share amongst the family as well, right?
right, right. And when I retired, his parents gave me the best gift I got from any of the parents. So they recognized something I did too. So that was good.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if we talk about that, have you found that your experience as a corporate leader, as well as a preschool teacher, has given you maybe a unique lens at human behavior and human connection?
Oh, yeah. I think I spend a lot of time observing people and listening to what they have to say. I've been told I'm a good listener and
Good.
I listen with focus. I know a lot of times people, when they're listening, they're thinking about, well, I got to do this over here and I got to do this over here. Or they say, oh yeah, that sounds like something I did. And then they interrupt you and start going off. And maybe it's similar, but not the same thing. And so they're not really listening. So you got to be really focused when you're listening.
I like that. And I like the way you use that word focused, because that is
Yeah.
so true. Because we want to facilitate on clear, unified, I forgot my little words there, unified, sustainable execution and delivery. So when we can become focused on this, that helps us better in our communication. And it's like you're
Mhm.
saying, the people that we work with, if they can think a little bit harder on what we do, each of us, and how we do it. Because it seems like, for example, in your work, it sounds like some of the work centers that you were in, it seems that it maybe even centered on going deeper than just surface level conflicts. So maybe you can help us with what inspired you to focus on some of the root causes rather than thinking about quick fixes.
Well, when I worked with people, I asked them a lot of questions about their personal life and about what's going on, after hours as well as going on. Some people may be going through a divorce, they may be pregnant, they may lost a family member, something like that, which does affect their performance, their attitude. I remember getting a job right after my sister died,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
and and it happened that I wasn't really myself, and I was working with somebody I worked with before who knew me and knew my personality. And so, anyway, I went in and talked to somebody else, and apparently I sounded gruff or something. And this person complained to my friend, and she came up to me and said, what's her name? Said that you were really gruff, and that's not like you. And said, oh yeah, I'm sorry, my sister just died, and I'm probably not myself. And turned out we became best friends after that with this person because she understood what happened and it was good. So you got to find out, what's going on with people, and some people try to hide it, but they don't hide it well.
And why do
And
we want to hide it?
yeah, yeah,
That ability for us to be open and
yeah,
to share with others and to realize that we all do make mistakes, and
mm,
not to hold it against the other person or have anyone hold it against us, but to not hide it. And I think, Steve, you brought up some good points also about being a good listener.
yeah.
The
One
more we
thing
listen,
about oh,
go ahead. No, please.
one thing about hiding after this problem, this 3.5 year problem with the one person that I had, I did seem to not be as open with people because I was very open with that person. I'll call his name Pat. And I wasn't that open after that because of I was very open with that person and it was used against me, things that I said. So I was very cautious about what I told people.
I think
And
that's
it
a
took
good
a
point.
while to get over that.
That's a good point. We have to be careful sometimes what we talk about, but that doesn't stop us from being more communicative. There are some
Right.
things that we want to do and share, and there's probably some private questions, some private instances that we don't want to share. But that ability to listen to others and understand where they are day to day is very important because
Yeah.
we're gonna see people that are looking for wrong. That's the old LFW, looking for wrong. We have to stop that. We have to stop those that are doing that. And I joke about DFW, which is the DFW airport, Dallas Fort Worth. But
Oh, yeah.
DFW meaning don't find wrong. How many people are doing that? And as you mentioned, people that are looking for something wrong and then it comes back to you. I'm just knowing you, Steve. I know you're a very polite, very kind, very strong professional, very intelligent. So why would someone want to find something wrong with that? But we do see that on a day-to-day basis. Back to what we were talking about earlier. Sometimes it's a learned process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we want to help others by listening, find out what their situation might be, and then understand more about here's a better way. Because if we're looking for wrong, what are we going to find? Things that are wrong.
Yeah.
Instead, if we
Back in
look for,
the,
go ahead,
oh,
please.
sorry to interrupt. Back in
No,
the 80s, I read the book, The 1 Minute Manager, and it's all about catching somebody doing something good or something the right way. And if you do catch something wrong, you address it right away and then forgiveness and go on. So that was a very good book that I read. I
and that
just,
is a good book. And we want to make sure that same ideas grow forward too, right?
right.
And with all of your vast experience, and it's very impressive, have you noticed any common patterns in workplace conflict that seem to show up regardless of whatever industry you might be in or whatever role you might be in?
I see that, I worked in departments and they're just personality differences, and some personalities just clash with others. And the thing to do is get those people together and find common ground or find something that they can communicate about anything.
Yeah, that's good. And today, let me ask, is it seen that many leaders are maybe struggling with that conflict avoidance? And maybe what have you seen happen when that conflict is ignored instead of, like you're talking about, addressed? Something mentioned?
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, yes, many leaders avoid conflict. Um, and I know they think it's going to go away if they just ignore it. And of course, the opposite happens. It gets worse. And it's not until it gets worse then they know they have to address it. And that's when they need somebody like me because I can come in and help them because I'm neutral party. I'm not I'm not part of their organization. So I can talk to the leader, have talk to him how he can handle the situation and talk to the conflicting parties. And depending on how serious it is, talk to them together. If it's very serious, then talk to them individually until I can talk to them together.
So when you're
And
talking to them individually, you're opening up some new ideas, right?
right,
Helping them understand the problem and where what might be working and then what might not be working.
yeah. And one item I heard actually in a Zoom yesterday is that 70% of corporate errors nationwide is because of miscommunication. So the conflict could be miscommunication and not personality at all, or it could be both.
Does that take us back, though, to that same preschool child that you talked about that
Yeah,
did not know how to communicate and not been taught how to
exactly.
communicate?
Yeah,
And then it grows with them year after year through school, through college or university, onto the workplace. And as small as that might seem to some people, they're still not able to communicate clearly, which could be creating some of the issues that you're talking about, Steve.
hmm And you can work with them individually until you find out that they can talk to one another. And it takes some training and it takes time. And then you get them together in front of you for a while and then let them go. But monitor the situation, because good habits take a long time to form.
And what
And
you're saying
bad
there,
habits have a long time to drop off.
because that's a desire, right? If they
Right.
have a habit, it's grown with them.
Yes.
So to change that, to improve that situation, they've got to want to, right?
Right.
How do you help them get into that mode? Hey, I've been doing this all my life. We see it in corporations all the time. Well, we've always done it that way. How can we help people that feel that same way about their actions or their attitude? I've always done it that way. Do you
Mhm.
have any steps that you go through? How do you work with them to help them move on to another better level, that next step forward?
Good question.
I think part of that you answered earlier by listening.
Yeah. And
Uh,
teach the parties to listen to one another and not in a heated way. And if they're heated at the time, they need to go back. It's called emotional intelligence. Is you've got to go back, calm down before you can talk to the other person.
Oh, wait a minute, Steve. I don't have to calm down. The other person has to calm down, not me. How do you handle that? That's somebody else's problem.
You both need to calm down. Yeah, maybe the other person needs to calm down and maybe you need to calm down.
That's a good point, because one of the things that I talk about is where's the value?
Yeah.
And I have an acronym for a lot of words, but one of my favorite is anger. ANGER. Actions not gaining effective results. And ANGER, anger. It's actions not gaining effective results. Why do we have anger? Are there any effective results? Maybe for a moment we feel better because we feel that word macho,
Mhm.
but long term, have we created any value? And I think what you're bringing forward, and maybe you can talk about it a little bit more, how you
Yeah.
work with them to get them to understand. And as you mentioned, listen, how do we bring that value? How do we create those results?
Yeah. Well, first of all, anger is not a bad emotion. It's just how you project it. So, the situation, if you are angry, walk away, calm down, and come to a point where you can talk to the other person in a civilized way. And if you do, things will get better.
I hear people say that quite often, that anger is not bad. Help me out with
Yeah.
that. Because too many times, if you got to the point where you have anger, if you're angry, something fed that.
Yeah.
There's a seed in your history somewhere that has grown a pretty strong plant, a pretty strong tree, something there that has grown from that seed of anger to negativity. I
Yeah.
can see people having passion, but that's totally different than anger.
Yeah. Well,
How can
anger
anger,
happens. Anger happens to all of us.
does it?
Well, maybe not the Dalai Lama.
And I can see your point, and I deal with these things in frustration and anger and hate and distancing. But aren't these things that we learn? Anger happens to us because we've seen someone else that was had anger, or that was angry.
Yeah.
We saw them and we imitate them. What if we did not imitate the negativity of others? What if instead we develop some positive actions so that we don't get angry? Isn't anger learned?
Yeah, it was learned a long time ago. But if you stifle anger, that just comes out in a different way. It may affect your health or something else. You've got to find a way to release it. And you may have to take a break. You may have to go out, take a walk for 5 or 10 minutes and come back. And when you come back, hopefully the anger is controlled and you can speak to the other person in a civilized manner. And some of the anger is triggered by somebody, but it's actually an anger that you have for something in your past, or maybe something happened when you got out of bed this morning, something like that. So,
So sometimes, and maybe I talk about road rage a lot, that
yeah,
there's somebody that's in a hurry. You're going to work, and actually I used to be one of those people. I'm back in the days where I had my Trans Am and, 4 speed, four on the floor, big 400 cubic inch engine. I could get from point A to point B very fast. I could get in and out of the traffic. I was always in a hurry, but I wasn't a good driver because of that. Because other people had to watch for me in a lot of ways. I was actually, in some ways, you might say a pretty good driver because I knew my distances. I was good in science and math and physics, but it's still, I was impacting others because of my driving. And by impacting others, if they didn't know how to handle it, I could have myself. Back when I was a teenager, when I was in college, when I bought my Trans Am, I could have caused some of that anger. I could have, couldn't I? Let me ask, couldn't I have taught that anger to some? Because we know that sometimes when we're in road rage, we're coming in, somebody pulls in front of us, and we may react and have a cup of coffee in our hand, whether that's right or not to be driving with a cup of coffee in your hand, but you spill coffee on yourself. And what are you going to do if you don't know better? You're going to get angry. And you might say, well, everybody gets angry. Well, we're trained to get angry, but what value did it bring?
yeah,
So we want to make sure, I think, like you're saying, Steve, that walk, that's a good idea. I like that idea. Take a walk, do something to relax. That's always a
yeah,
great idea. But if we
yeah,
also train ourselves that for me to get angry because I've got coffee on my shirt serves no value. And it's easy to say, well, we all get angry. Well, we all can, but we all can also, just as quick as we can get into anger, can we also get into relaxation, doing those things? Can we also get into what I call calm,
mm,
canceling anger leads motivation? CALM. Instead of being angry, instead of having that anger, why don't we have that calm and train ourselves? Canceling anger leads motivation.
yeah.
If we can train ourselves so that, then we don't get angry. We don't have anger because we've learned another step. What do you think about that?
I think that's good. You can go. to your desk and meditate. If your boss approves.
And you bring up a good point too, because some bosses are not as open, but isn't there ways you can still train yourself to
Mhm.
meditate
Yeah.
without making it
Meditate without being noticed. Yeah,
overly
for sure.
obvious?
For sure. You can go to the bathroom and sit on the toilet for 5 minutes.
Dude, just go somewhere.
Yeah.
Like you said, the
Yeah.
bathroom is good, out to your car, somewhere to
Yeah.
take a deep breath. Maybe, if you're lucky, you can go talk to your boss.
Yeah.
Open those doors
Yeah.
because if you need help, HELP, you have excellent leadership plans. I know I've got a lot of acronyms, but HELP, if you want help, you'll have excellent leadership plans, and that's what you will do in those situations. And I like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom if you need to. Go talk to the boss. Go take
Yeah.
that walk, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
That is an excellent leadership plan. Make sure to have those. Having those excellent leadership plans going forward. So as I talk
So,
to you, Steve, a lot of what you talk about sounds like your mission is also about transformation, not just resolution, but you're helping
right.
people transform. How do you describe that true outcome from your work when it's done well?
When it's done well, people are not only being professional with each other, but they're actually getting along with each other. I'm not saying they're best friends. I'm not saying that they want to do stuff outside of work, but they are acting, not acting, being in concert with each other and appreciating. And they're looking forward to going to work every day because they know they don't have a problem with this person anymore. That's the transformation.
They know they can make it better, can't they? They
That's
can learn. They can teach themselves sometimes too, right?
right.
I like that. It's a great concept because that transformation of learning from where we were to where we want to be can be so strong in building a better future, right?
Right.
It seems like many of the struggles and maybe some that you deal with is with that execution after identifying the issue. How do you help guide them from recognizing conflict to actually resolving it effectively?
Well, it takes time. It takes time. And I give them a list of actions to take, and then they read those actions back to me and they make a promise to attempt to do each action.
That's great.
Yeah,
Write it down. Write it down and to break it down into the actions that they can fully execute,
right,
right? And
right.
then once they have those written down and break them down, they can find out any dependencies they may have on making it come to fruition, making it a ability. They're able to do it, right?
Yeah, right.
And then get it done. I like what you're talking about. Have you maybe have you found that writing things down, capturing those thoughts or concerns or agreements changes the clarity and accountability within each person and possibly within teams?
It does. It does. And I'm not a big proponent of bureaucracy, but I think this is one point of bureaucracy that's very important because people forget, especially in a busy office. They're
I know
so focused on the goal they forget how to deal with one another or how to deal with themselves sometimes. Sometimes they forget to take care of themselves. They work till 8 or 9 at night after coming in at 6 in the morning.
That's tough, right?
Yeah,
And then what does that do to their family? If they have one,
right,
their friends, which can create other stresses, which can be that seed to anger that we talked about.
right. Exactly.
But it sounds like
Exactly.
sometimes breaking those challenges down to manageable parts is critical. How do you help teams avoid feeling overwhelmed like that during their conflict resolution?
It is a problem because they've got deadlines. And, but what I tell them is that this will help you do your job better, do your job faster. And yes, up front, it may take more time, but it's going to help you, help your passion, help your love for the work, and it will take less time. And you will meet your deadlines faster, go home, and you can forget about the work till the next day. You can enjoy your family and your friends.
Kids' activities, you can actually start
Yeah,
taking part, right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah, I like the way you're thinking. I think some great ideas and the concepts that you're bringing forward to help people have a better life in many ways, right, Steve?
yeah, yeah, yeah. If your work life's better, your free time's better.
That
I
is
know
good.
jobs that I struggled with, Sunday was always a dread. Instead of enjoying my Sunday, I was, oh gosh, you're going to go back to work tomorrow, you know? And it was like, oh, it was all up here, but I wasn't enjoying my Sunday.
Because you knew that
Yeah,
next morning stress was going to grow.
right.
You're going to be doing something that you didn't enjoy, but
Yeah,
you knew, or at least felt, you had to do it. But how many times do we not look for another opportunity? If we have
yeah,
situations like that where we're working in a place that we don't enjoy, that's creating stress, hurting the family, hurting ourselves. How many people do not look for another job, another alternative? How do you help them
yeah.
handle that?
Help them find ways to enjoy what they're doing. Say they're underemployed and they want another job, and they can look, but while they're looking, find ways to enjoy what you're doing.
One of the things I tell people also, and it's something that I was taught years and years ago, that the best time to look for another job, especially if you're in situations like that, the best time to look for another job is while you have a job.
Right?
Don't quit and start looking. Don't wait till the job is no longer available and start looking. Look while you're employed. Start creating solutions, one reality at a time, and build on that, right? Right, Steve?
Mhm. Right, right.
Steve, it sounds like your work definitely creates lasting change. And of course, lasting change, as I mentioned earlier, starts with improvement. And improvement is one thing that just keeps on going. Can you help us with one takeaway that you would want every listener that's here today, that listens to this on the recording later? What is something that they can apply immediately in their own personal or professional life?
Okay. If you're a leader, talk to your people, all your people. Say you're in a group of 50 employees. Try to take 2 minutes, 2 minutes a month to talk to each individual. If you're in a company of 200, that may be hard, but then have your top management do that. And you can talk to your team leaders once a month because you probably don't have that many teams. And that's my advice. I think I'll give you a situation where I was in a job and I was behind on my project and I thought I was going to get fired. And I felt that way for about 6 months. It
Wow.
came to review time. I was getting along with my boss, but I didn't know about my boss's boss because he wasn't communicating. And I came to review time. I not only got a raise, but I got a 35% bonus, which was the highest
Wow.
bonus anybody got. But
Congratulations.
I didn't feel appreciated by
During
my
the
boss's
process.
boss because he didn't, you know. And when I left, I was laid off, but I got a great severance package. And he was very pleasant to
Supportive.
me and very honoring and gave me a good recommendation and all that. But up until that time, it was like, huh?
Congratulations, Steve. I tell you, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's a big
yeah,
wow. Thank you so much for being here today,
yeah.
for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your heart, your practical wisdom with me, with our listeners. As we close today's conversation, one thing to me becomes clear. Real change happens when that vision meets action. And when people come together with purpose, doesn't require anger, but when they come together with purpose, they have that value that they're pulling forward. So as we wrap up today's conversation, I definitely want to thank you, Steve Nason, for sharing your wisdom, your stories, and your heart with us. Your decades of experience, Steve, across multiple industries, combined with your unique background in early childhood education, where we learned so much, gives us a powerful reminder that people and relationships are at the center of every workplace. Your focus on emotional intelligence, as you said earlier, the EI, emotional intelligence, conscious leadership, and getting to the root of conflict offers us all real hope that high conflict environments can become healthy, unified, and high performing. So, again, Steve, thank you for being a valued guest on the Achieving Unity Leadership System podcast and for helping us continue turning pain into purpose and disconnection into unity. Because as Steve spoke to us today, continue to communicate with Steve on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. This video will be out there in a couple of days. And visit Steve's profile on LinkedIn. It's just Steve Nason Owner on LinkedIn. Look him up. And I hope you took a picture of that slide earlier in the podcast that has Steve's QR code. But if not, again, the full podcast will be available on YouTube. It's YouTube/Mark Intrican before the close of business on Friday. It's YouTube/ at Mark Intrican before the close of business on Friday. You'll get another copy of this presentation and listen to it again. Or if you weren't able to make it today, and a lot of people aren't because it is during the workday, listen to the video. Because as achieving unity resonates with you, follow that feeling. Reach out and connect with me. You go to my website, www.achievingunity.com or www.markintrican.com. There's 3 W's there. But until next time, let us continue to transform that complexity and things that Steve brought up today that we can make better. turn that complexity into execution, turn that chaos into connection, and turn our purposes into action. Let us all continue achieving unity. Or call me. Let's get focused. Get reality focused. Call me at 303-362-8733 or on your dial on your keypad, 303 focused. We can stay focused on listening and dialogue. Things that Steve talked about today. Listen, then listen and dialogue, write it down, and then we can break it down so we can get it done with better collaboration, communication, and as we achieve unity, well, we're achieving unity by harnessing the power, that strength of encouraging, inspiring, and including others in building better businesses, better lives, and a better world. Thank you again. This is Mark Intrican with the Achieving Unity Leadership System, reminding you that life is truly what we make it. Let us help everyone around us. Help them be seen, heard, and supported in everyday moments, the ones that truly matter and make life awesome together in unity. Thank you all, and thank you, Steve, for your message. Steve, you have any final comments or maybe a closing quote before we end today's meeting?
Thank you, Mark. Closing quote from John Wooden. Don't let what you cannot do get in the way of what you can do. And you can reach me at 303-276-2730.
One more time, please.
303-276-2730.
Great, Steve. Thank you so much. I'm glad you gave us that. And John Wood was one of my heroes. Don't let things that you can't do get in the way of things that you can. Steve, thank you so much for showing us how to move past those surface level arguments and how to find those real solutions. Steve, thank you again so much. And I hope to see you all everybody in the audience, those who are listening to us again later off of the YouTube. Hope to see you all again next week for your message and for showing us how to move past, as Steve told us, those surface level agreements and help us find those real solutions. So help us in that next step of remembering that unity is not a soft skill. Unity is a leadership discipline. So until next week, I'll see you there. Cheers.